Hey. So for the last 2 days, we've been going up into the Hurricane Ridge, the high mountains of Olympic. The day after that, we went over to the Pacific Coast, and for the final day, we're showcasing exactly how diverse the ecosystem of Olympic National Park is. We are actually in the Hoh Rainforest, the final ecosystem that we're going to have on this particular tour, and we are going to go on the Hoh River Trail. Uh, we are not going to be able to do the full trail today since it is way too long, but we're going to go a few hours in and take a look at the sites. I'm going to showcase some of the photos I'm going to be talking about. But if you look around, we are in the country's only temperate rainforest. And as far as diverse and unique ecosystems go, it's very hard to come up with something that's anything like this. So even though on this specific day I'm not going to be able to hike all the way through the trail, I did have that opportunity a couple years back when I did hike this entire trail, which is a total of 18-mile one way. So this is as good time as any to give some tips for anyone interested in completing this entire trail. It took me 3 days. The first day I hiked along this with mostly this scenery that you're looking around right now, and it was roughly a 9 to 9.5 mile hike over to a riverbed that's in this area, going towards the end of the forest. We camped on that specific riverbed for the night. The next day, it was a bit of a longer hike. We left the base camp or our tent behind, and we did I believe it was a 18-mile one-day trip at that point, where we hiked further all along this trail until we got out of the actual forest. Once we were out of the forest, we began climbing up one of the mountains in this area, and essentially we topped over the mountain. The end goal of this hike is essentially a glacial meadow, as well as a glacier itself called Blue Glacier. It's very very scenic. So after we reached Blue Glacier and spent some time around the meadow to see the scenery over there, the remainder of the second day essentially just involved us backtracking the way we came, back down the mountain, back to the riverbed where we camped, and stayed a second night in the riverbed. One thing that really stood out about that experience is the absolute gorgeous night skies due to the incredible solitude you have in the national park. And then the third day consisted of going on the Hoh Trail and essentially backtracking the way we went on the first day, just going right back to the parking lot and seeing another 9 miles of gorgeous rainforest that you see around us right now. So as I'm walking, I'm just going to start talking about the different kinds of things I'm looking for in photography in this kind of area. Since we don't have the clear sweeping vistas that we've had in the previous 2 days, we're going to have to focus on more unique things that we're seeing, things that catch our eye. For this one, it's going to be very much an eye test. As you're walking, you're just looking for things that stand out to you, because if they stand out to you, they're going to stand out to other people. Once we get to a spot, I'll showcase on me. So as we're moving further along the trail, I was talking about things that stand out to you. Like I said, if something stands out to you, if something catches your eye, then the chances of it being a good photograph are very, very high. If it catches your eye, it's going to catch other people's eyes. Things that we're looking for here, I haven't seen anything that really showcased that example yet, but things like trees with unique amount of moss, trees with just unique shapes, just a general good setup of various items put together would be a good example of what to look for. And of course, we still want to focus on the foreground by having things like moss, having things like down the ground here as good foreground shots. So I've reached a spot where I think we can have a fairly good photography moment. So I'm going to showcase the mindset I have of taking this photograph. So we've been talking about foreground, background, and midground. In this case, I think I found a very, very nice foreground shot where we have a log in front of us covered in both leaves, ivy, as well as various clover. So that makes, I believe, a good subject of interest right there. In the background and midground as well, we have a very, very, very large grove of trees here that's absolutely covered in hanging moss. So what we're going to do is we're going to position the log in the bottom 1/3 of the picture. We're going to have a landscape photography in this particular example, and we're going to frame the picture with 2 of the trees. So what we're trying to do is keep one tree in the left edge, one tree in the right edge, and have the trees take up the top 2/3 of the picture. So there's your shot. So we are now about 2.5 miles on this trail, and this is the view we've been able to enjoy this entire time. We are walking in the middle of a temperate rainforest, the only non-tropical rainforest in the world right here in the United States. And we get to see very thick rows of trees covered in moss, thick vegetations, and absolutely unique and breathtaking scenery. So we didn't make it too much further down the trail, and I think I already found another spot that's actually a very good photo op. So background, foreground topic. This time we have similar looking trees, slightly different. We have one larger one in the middle that's a central focus. But once again, very large trees covered in a lot of moss and a grove that I believe looks very scenic. And we have a similar log, only less clover this time, more various kinds of ivy and other overgrowth, but we have a distinct green coloration, which I think blends very, very good and for a good picture. So we're going to practice the same techniques that we had last time. We have the log is going to dominate the bottom third of the picture, and we have a bonus by having the shrub there that we're going to put in the bottom right corner. Then we're going to have the same technique of putting together framing by putting 2 trees, one on the left, one on the right. And there's your shot. So before we talked about picking out things that appeal to you, things, various subjects of interest that stand out to you while you're hiking, because if they stand out to you, they're going to stand out to people watching your pictures. And I believe we found a perfect topic to illustrate this. Here, can't tell quite what's happening, but it looks like we have a pair of trees that have merged together. It appears that one has began growing and the other one started growing to the left of it and has uprooted it. You see the root system of the tree on the right hand side there, just way above the soil. So we're going to use this as our primary topic of interest, and we're going to position this in the right 2/3 of the picture, with the foreground going to be the fern at the bottom, taking up the bottom 1/3. So we have the right quadrant is taken up by our subject of interest, that tree. We have a moderate framing coming on with the tree that's on the left-hand side, with the bottom third, the foreground, is being taken up by the ferns at the base. And there's your shot. So as we finalize this video, I wanted to leave you with my impressions on the Olympic National Park in general. One of the things that really stands out to me is exactly how diverse the ecology, ecosystem, environment of this park is. We spent the first day high in the Olympic Mountains where we saw gorgeous mountainscapes covered in snow. We spent the second day on the rugged Pacific coastline and seeing great ocean scenery and very nice sandy beaches. And the last day we are, as you can see, in this gorgeous verdant rainforest, and the only non-tropical rainforest in the country. It's truly a unique area.